Folks, you've just seen one of the greatest performances in the history of road racing in NASCAR.
He's just one of the world's best road racers, and that's the end of the story.
Shane Van Gisbergen is the master of NASCAR road racing. 7th career win, and he's the 7th driver to win this season. What a clinic. He's captured the hearts of these American fans. The New Zealander, birthday boy this weekend, light the candles.
What a win for Shane Van Gisbergen at Watkins Glen in the NASCAR Cup. Hello and welcome to Motor Racing 360. This is Motorsport from every angle. I'm Jess Yates, alongside Paul Murray. Good to see you.
And I'm so excited just watching those highlights of SVG. I'm looking around going, oh, that's right, TV show host. Let's do that.
It was an incredible victory for him in the States. A big hello and welcome also to our regulars here on MR360, Supercars legend Mark Skaife and journo James Phelps. Gentlemen, let's start with the celebrations for Shane Van Gisbergen. What was looking to be a hard sell to get back in that race at Watkins Glen turned out to be an incredible showdown. He was 29 seconds behind the field. He turned that into a 7-second advantage to win just his 7th road course victory in NASCAR. Mark Skaife, you have seen it all from Shane Van Gisbergen. We know how good he is, what his prowess enables him to do. Where would you rate that drive from him on that day? I mean, he has absolutely wowed them in America.
He has smashed them, Jess. And I mean, we ran out of superlatives for Shane when he was in our series, and we know that he is absolutely one of the best race car drivers on the planet. There's no doubt about it. But what he showed at Watkins Glen was just unbelievable. I mean, the commentators wrote him off. Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer, they're going, oh no, you can't win from there, right? So he's come back out, 29 seconds. But the part that's really interesting is he goes past them all, he leads, he wins by 7 seconds. So that's 36 seconds in 18 laps. So 2 seconds a lap, he's been able to gap the field by. It was unbelievable. And he did say afterwards, and I was really interested to see what the review of the whole thing was. He did say that he thought that was his best drive, the best he's ever driven. So that was, I think,
it's
really evident.
Telling. Yeah.
They're calling him the greatest road driver in history, and the guy is that good, he's literally changing the sport. So few people do that. We've seen Tiger Woods do it in golf, Jordan do it in basketball. He is that good that we're going to see summer camps for NASCAR in Australia. The little untold story of the weekend was a guy called Austin Cindric. He came 9th in the race, which was his best at Watkins Glen, but he was the quickest in practice, 3rd in qualifying, and guess what? That's no fluke. It's because he's followed the Shane Van Gisbergen blueprint, came to Australia and raced in Adelaide last year. So expect a flood of them coming over this year to learn the crafts.
What I loved was when he was running them down, he has a little conversation with the pit crew saying, no more noise, just tell me how many to go, how far in front. When you are chasing them down, that's all you want to hear. You don't want it because they, in NASCAR, really overload you. And as we talked about last week with Kyle Busch, you have these long conversations on the radio. When you're chasing down, you don't want anything but those numbers, right?
Oh, absolutely. I used to say to our guys, no more chat. I mean, that's pretty much what he did. But check those out. I mean, Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart are two of the best drivers that America has ever produced, and two of the very best competitors. They were hardcore car racing blokes. And when you think about the number of starts, so look at those as a stat, to be almost the same as Gordon and Stewart, that's extraordinary.
In 3 years, Skaife.
Totally.
3 years he's been able to rack up that number. Yeah. Incredible. I thought Justin Marks, who's obviously the owner of Trackhouse, summed it up really well. We are seeing someone operate at a level the sport has never seen. Did you think that Shane was going to be able to go there and have this impact as quickly as he's had?
Well, on one hand, yes, because what he did in Chicago at his first race, I mean, that's probably one of the most extraordinary things we've ever seen in world motorsport. To go on debut...
Turn up and win.
And turn up and win on a street circuit.
Them.
And the great thing was, it was the architecture of doing that. The way he went about it, Paul, it was completely conceived around a new track that no one had been to.
Yes.
So of all the times where he could have gone and done that, he did it and he showed it off. Marcus Ambrose gave them all a hosing when he was in America. And obviously, we know that style of racing, that sort of circuit, that style of racing suits us, right? So, I mean, what would Scott McLaughlin do if he was in the field, right?
Correct.
I mean, what would our very best drivers that are in our field right now, what would they do?
Question, because we were talking about Matt Payne last week and his bid to go and race some NASCAR with Chevy. What does that do to that conversation with Matt Payne? Does Matt Payne look at that and go, well, I'm wasting my time here at Supercars, well, I can do that?
Yeah, true, but the problem is that's not the majority of the racing that the category does.
That's right.
So there's no question about how far in front SVG is on those road circuits.
Yeah.
And again, you know, all fans who have had a million different perspectives on him, we love that he's doing this overseas. There's a huge surge of support. People who, frankly, probably hadn't checked in on NASCAR for a while, absolutely back in on it now.
Yep.
But I also find part of the performance too was qualifying as well. And again, that experience about road courses, because obviously we were talking about it before the show, Scafie. I mean, qualifying on an oval is a whole different thing, but certainly second nature to a bloke like Shane is how to get it up the front on a track like this, one that you've had a go at.
Yeah, well, it's a really big, fast-flowing racetrack, and it certainly... If you think about the skill and you think about the cars moving around quite a lot, they're not really aero-sensitive as much as they are, say, on a big, fast oval. So these sorts of corners and the way that he drives the car, it absolutely suits him. And he's got great car control. We used to talk about it all the time. As soon as the track went a bit damp or it was half wet, Shane was immediately at the front of the field. And there's a lot of guys like that. Chaz Mostert's like that, you know, Cam Waters is like that. So there's a lot of drivers that have just got that really innate feel for the car, and Shane has absolutely got that.
Why can't he convert to ovals? I mean, you'd think they were simpler for a guy that's such mastery, you know, on road courses. Why can't he convert that to ovals?
Well, to be honest, I think he is. I mean, there's been a lot of times this year where he's been in the top 10 and he's been up there in contention. He's been in the wrong spot at the wrong time a few times, like Talladega. I mean, how was that shunt? There was only 4 cars left after one of the shunts.
Correct.
So I think he's probably going better there than you think. I'm interested what he does. So he's been saying about not wanting to show people his technique on a street circuit, but what he's doing is left foot braking. So he's got himself organised. He's actually even shifted the pedals further apart so that he left foot brakes on the ovals. And that does make the pitch of the car, it makes it more sensitive in terms of the way you go about turning it at the corner. Doesn't upset the car so much. So a lot of those techniques, they're just born and bred when you're in the US. You're on speedways the whole way through. We're just not like that.
This has been the best thing that could have happened for Shane in terms of where he was in his career. I think here in Supercars, he'd done everything. There wasn't that challenge anymore. The playing field weren't necessarily taking it to him in the way that he needed them to push him to that next level. And he's clearly been able to find that in NASCAR. And I think he's going to be even better than we thought he could be from the very beginning.
Not just the best thing for Shane, this is the best thing for Supercars. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for a sport. It's put our sport on the map over in America. As I said, we're going to have summer NASCAR camp soon. We're going to have all them coming over at Christmas to learn the craft. But it's also going to create some opportunities for Supercars to link with NASCAR and maybe conquer that big American market that we've been wanting to conquer for so long.
Well, and talking about getting as many high-profile international drivers across as possible, for the Bathurst 12-hour, Phelpsy, you're across this one from this week, which is they're going to try to get as many big names as possible. Yes, they'd try to go for an SVG, but the Verstappen of it all. Is there a chance he ends up at Mount Panorama?
Mad Max is coming down under. Well, he's not coming yet, but he's certainly on the hit list. And hey, he's spoken about his love for Australia, his love for Bathurst. He's driven a supercar, and at the moment he's in Nürburgring this weekend competing. There's a big chance.
Sold it out, not just competing. He has sold out the joint.
And this is why he's at number 1 on the hit list. There's 350,000 coming this weekend. They've broken the record of 280. They've built extra stands, and we've also got Red Bull and YouTube broadcasting it live. So if they can get him to Mount Panorama for the 12-hour, watch this space. And we just labelled someone else the best driver in the world. Max has got a pretty good claim. Shane is on that hit list too. So have a look at that. What about that matchup?
Wouldn't you put them together? I mean, imagine having
Not
Max
a chance,
Verstappen
mate,
and Shane Van
head-to-head.
Gisbergen in the same team.
Yeah, they win by 5 laps.
I was going to say, just don't worry about a podium. Just only have one spot. Can
like
you
a
give a trophy
showcase.
before a race? Yeah, because that'd be.
But they're good mates, right?
Yeah.
So they'd probably love the opportunity to come here and contest it together equally to
Seriously,
compete against.
Well, but
each
have a
other.
look at that hit list. Have a look at those names. We've got
Okay,
Max
so
Verstappen.
what's
how do
the
you do
reality
this?
of this,
Yeah.
though? Okay, so Max Verstappen, what
He
he's on?
loves racing.
Do we have a date?
He's got his own team. Yep, we've got the date reveal. It's up there. It fits in. Testing should be the week after. So if it fits in and he can get there, he'll be there. You
But
bet.
is this a matter of cash? I mean, is this a matter of cash? Is it because it's one of the great circuits that it sells itself?
Absolutely.
I mean, is it, you know, You've got to go and pick them up in a personal PJ. Like, how do you get them there? Because the assumption is, yeah, okay, eventually, but only on the downhill of my
The same reason you get them to Nürburgring. It's a world-famous track. People want to race there, and these guys are racers. They love racing, and these sports cars are pretty serious weaponry, aren't they? They're pretty fun to drive. So you look at the quotes, mate. He wants to come. He loves supercars, and what excites me is maybe he falls in love with Australia and also Bathurst, and decides he wants to come and jump in a Red Bull supercar.
Well, we
maybe
can
Santa
actually
Claus will
confirm.
be in the pit crew with him too, right?
That's right, but we can confirm that it is actually real racing too. This will be
imagine that.
Yeah, we'll actually go racing. It'd be good.
To go faster, you
Maybe
push that
cargo's
one.
faster.
Nothing else.
Just quietly, I'd love to see Lance Stroll come over to, he'd be a popular figure. We put a
So
crap
that's
on
it.
him.
It's interesting that
Correct.
his name is on the list, because if you're going to talk about, draw cards, you can see Max Verstappen, absolutely. Shane Van Gisbergen, I think if Shane could find an opportunity to get back here and fit it in, he'd love to, because his credentials up there are unparalleled. But what are the realities of getting some of those other F1 drivers? Is it real?
Absolutely. Look, we had Valentino Rossi here last year.
Yeah.
Like, the greatest drivers in the world want to come and race in this race. It goes global. The viewership last year was extraordinary. And hey, where else do you get kangaroos falling in your lap coming through the windscreen? I mean,
But it's this thing where I do not want to rain on the parade, but I want to ask a question on behalf of everyone else who might be thinking it at home. Scafey, it's one thing to get a driver to come here. We've seen with Bathurst and wildcards before, people who do well in home series, and because it's not a full year operation, the kit underneath them isn't as good. So obviously, to get a Verstappen, to get any of these people, how do you make sure that the kit that they're in is competitive? Because that has to be part of it as well. It's not just, hey, come out, give it a go, but sorry,
Well, they'd be done with manufacturer support. So
Right.
if it was a GT3 car, he would probably come under the same guise as he's using for the Nürburgring.
Right.
That would be the smart way of making that connection. And the other part is, because of the GT3 thing, they've got more downforce, bigger tyre, they're used to driving them in Europe, it's easier for them to come and do that. Our cars are quirky, less downforce, smaller tyre, bigger power, harder cars to drive. So it's part of what we've discussed a lot. So if we actually wanted them to come and race in a supercar race, then they need more time, more access to
it's
us,
different.
and more testing needs to be accommodated for them to make sure they get up to speed. I mean, Max Verstappen would take 2 days, all of a sudden he'd be fine, right? No problem.
do you think a bloke that's been so vocal about how bad his car is in Formula One this year, do you think AMG would give him a dud car and risk the berating they'd get from that?
No, very fair point, very fair point. But it is that thing just about wildcards and about those international drivers, is that I'm not generally
And you
a
ask if
GT3
this is real?
viewer, I'm a supercar boy all the way through. So
Yeah.
But this would actually change the game for the Bathurst 12 Hour. If Max Verstappen came to drive in that race, he sold out the Nürburgring. It would be like Kim Kardashian coming to Formula One.
Yeah, we could charge Formula One prices. And Bathurst can finally get, the bird cage set up there. It'll be fantastic.
And hey guys, his 3 teammates this weekend, they're all Bathurst 12-hour veterans. We've got 3 of them lining up. They'll be in his ear this weekend. going,
Phelps is
"Do it,
fired up.
do it."
Like you're willing to pick them up
I
from
wanna
the
get him
airport.
here. I
you
wanna
want
get-
this story to happen so bad, you're willing to pick
I
them
wanna
up
get
from
That
Feeney
means
out of
we
the
can get a
Max
ticket to the
Verstappen press
event.
conference.
So, yeah.
He finally wants one of his stories to come to fruition.
I back you, Phelps.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's feeling like
What
it
about
could
you
come
retiring
true.
came true? pretty
Oh, good memory, Phelps.
Good square up, 1-1.
Well, the noise around Max Verstappen and his future in Formula One has not quietened down at all. In fact, Mark Webber has actually weighed into the debate, saying that Formula One needs Max for a number of reasons from every angle. It's not just about maintaining fan popularity. He's obviously got plenty of that, but it's more importantly keeping the level of competition high on the grid. How would Formula One suffer if there was no Max? What would the actual real impact of that be?
Well, can I go from the other angle? Because the thing for me is Formula One stands for, historically, the very best drivers in the world in the fastest circuit racing cars, right? So if you put those two things together, the cars have copped flack, but the drivers don't. So whether it's Leclerc, it's all of Hamilton,
Yep.
the way that we've looked at the way those people drive the cars, if Formula One did not have this bloke, and even his drive at Miami where he fired down the inside of everybody and he was so aggressive and his overtaking methodology is really elite. To me, if you don't have someone like that in the field, then it doesn't meet the criteria. That's what it is.
It wouldn't miss a beat. The sport's bigger than a driver, and all sports are. We get that with rugby league, we get it across the code. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo was a bigger personality than anyone and could drive. I'd say the sport suffered more when we lost his personality. And to be fair, this guy doesn't do a lot off the track, does he? He doesn't speak to journalists, he's gruff, he doesn't do media commitments, he's a driver, so... Yeah, don't kid yourself.
Yeah, but I think people changed their opinion on Max. That when he came into contention last year, and it just was this idea of just this swaggering bloke who's just going to run him down, people's attitude did change to him. But I've got to say, a sign of his power is because he's been the most vocal, the most obvious about the failures of this season. 4 rounds in, they're already talking about the plan to change it. Yep. If it was just everyone else and Verstappen wasn't there, it might just be because he's in the position that he's in that we turn to him as the guy to be the spokesperson for the pissed off. But I think that speaks to his power because pretty much any governing sport, any head office, generally speaking, holds on to the decisions that they make. They don't say maybe not after 4.
He might want to whinge too much because if they make his car too much better, he's not going to be able to get out of his contract. It's a clause when the summer break comes around, if he's not in the top 2, he can get out. So if he goes in there, this conversation's over. He's locked into a contract.
But he can, he's sitting 7th in the championship at the moment. He's 74 points adrift of Antonelli, who's leading the charge. We've got 7 races. Can he really turn it around in that time frame? Based on the performance that we've seen, I wouldn't have said so. So I think what we're facing here is that he has an option to get out of his contract at Red Bull. I can't see him leaving Formula One. I don't think that he's quite done with it yet. And given all the noise and the changes that are coming, and we'll get into the regulation changes and the white flag that's been waved from the FIA in just a minute, but I think what it's signalling to us is that he's going to stay in Formula One, but where he lands is going to be the big question. And is it going to be Red Bull? It seems like he's now got this option to make that known by the summer break. 7 races, not that far away.
I think the real option is a hiatus. He takes a year off and goes and gets some of this sports car stuff out of his system, races the 12-hour, of course. But, he'll wait for that drive.
I don't think it's enough for him, though. I think he wants to be in a car every weekend. He wants to be in a winning car.
He'll force others to change.
Yes.
So the contract arrangements will be over there. If McLaren want him or Mercedes want him or Ferrari want him, one of them will grab him. For sure.
Any of them would have him, right?
Totally.
It's actually going to be up to Max.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. Well, he's been linked to a move to Mercedes. He's been linked to a move to McLaren. But David Coulthard actually thinks there's a better fit for him.
I think that Max actually, as a shoe-in, fits better to the Ferrari world than the Mercedes world. I know that they have this good relationship, and I know that he's racing a Mercedes in the GT3 events that he does. But in actual, the freedom to be Max, I think would be a more comfortable fit at Ferrari because you would just turn up, drive quickly, presumably win some races and then head home.
What on earth is he talking about? Ferrari world, freedom to be Max? What does that even mean?
Well, I think from a driver's perspective, so David's obviously been in different teams and he's seen the different methodology about how they actually run those organisations, and he sees it a lot. He's there every weekend and he sees what sort of team is required for you to get the best out of Max. And I think what he's actually saying is he'll have more freedom and fit in better in the Ferrari system than he will in the Mercedes system.
When you say freedom, though, what are you talking about? Is that about having equity in the car setup and the direction that he wants to take, the development of the car? Or is it because Ferrari seem to be very hands on that and they're not taking a great deal of feedback from their drivers, a la Charles Leclerc? All he has to do is parachute in, put his bum in the seat, drive the car fast, and then he's out doing all the other... Is that what they mean by freedom?
Well, there's lots of aspects of it, Jess, but the freedom essentially is to be able to come and craft the team around him. Right now, when you think about what that is like, cast your mind back to what Michael Schumacher did when he was at Ferrari and completely tailored the team to be the #1 team in pit lane and for a long time. So that's the sort of craft they're thinking about. You're taking someone of this calibre and putting him there with Leclerc. That would be a stunning combination.
I get it, but Max blows up at the slightest mistakes of Red Bull. Imagine the pit strategy conversations we'll get to hear about the pit wall of Ferrari if Max was going. It'd be the most entertaining thing about a broadcast is how much push he can put in there.
Yeah.
So that's why, it would seem like a fit that isn't perhaps as freezes.
It would craft the whole thing, but Paul. So what Schumacher did is he ended up with Ross Brawn and John Todd and all that. So everybody goes to this pyramid of the best operators. So all of a sudden the strategy looks better when you have better people there.
So you've got to make that call pretty quickly though, right? So if we've got the summer break as probably the deadline for understanding if he's going to see out his contract at Red Bull, because he's got a contract with them to the end of 28.
They're all making moves now, Jess, behind the scenes. It's all
but that's
happening.
right. So we already know some of those key figures that he probably would want to take with him if he was going to go elsewhere are already making a move elsewhere. So I would think that we're actually going to get a fairly quick indication from Max by summer as to whether he's going to see this out or if he is going to jump ship.
The right opportunities there, he'll take it. They'd already have him lined up. But just on your point, Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest drivers in history. Why hasn't Ferrari built the team around him and did exactly what you said they're going to do for this guy? And why hasn't it worked?
Well, Charles has actually been faster than him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So in the previous iteration of the cars, when you got the last 2%, Charles was absolutely one of the best qualifiers and one of the fastest guys in the field. So at the moment, you haven't been able to craft it around Hamilton because, firstly, you've got to beat your teammate. So when you beat your teammate, it's like a Senna and Prost scenario, right? All of a sudden, when Ayrton Senna starts going faster than Alain Prost, the whole thing becomes a Senna push. That's what it's about.
So does this actually shortcut Lewis Hamilton then too? Do you think there's going to be some pressure that he retires at the end of this year? I mean, if this is real and Ferrari is a real option for Max, which of course it's going to be, is this going to be the end of Hamilton?
Maybe they want to get rid of Charles so they don't have that clash, like you've said, make it easy for
Max
him.
and Lewis, what teammates they would be. You thought the Formula One movie was fun to watch with throwing of helmets.
No way.
What about perhaps, of course, Oscar Piastri and all of this? Plenty of rumours around him and Max Verstappen. Juan Pablo Montoya saying that Piastri would find a seat anywhere. There's a suggestion that Max and Piastri could do a straight swap. What are the chances of that, do we think? I don't think that's what happens, but what do you reckon, Jess?
I don't think it'll be a straight swap, but I could see Oscar Piastri ending up at Red Bull, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think, as we've said, it's in car racing, there's smoke, there's fire. I would think Mark Webber is a shrewd operator. He's got very close connections with that team. If that's out there, I would think that's probably happening behind the scenes. I don't think it necessarily indicates that Max is going to McLaren necessarily, but what I think it indicates is that they're not happy there and that McLaren have probably put all their eggs in Lando's basket. The writing's on the wall, depending on how this year sort of shakes out. And I think the summer break is going to be really pivotal in terms of telling us about, you know, who's who in the zoo, where we're actually at in terms of the pecking order, who has performance, who has results, who doesn't. And that's going to be the marker to say, right, well, he's out, he's going to be moving on. I think that's probably more than likely where Oscar Piastri is going to end up. You agree?
How about Montoya? He's re-breaking MR360 news. We spoke about this 4 weeks ago. And it makes sense, doesn't it, for him to go to Red Bull with the Mark Webber link? But it's all going to be about where he's number one driver.
Yes.
If he can win the battle with Lando this year, and there's only 8 points between them at the moment, he'll stay. But if it's clear...
I don't think so. I don't agree. I just don't... Lando Norris is going to stay with that team. They have supported him right throughout the infancy of his career. They played such a big part in ensuring that he was going to be the champion last year. I don't see them deviating from that. I think Lando's in the peak of his powers at the moment.
It's not if he stays or goes. It's a preferential treatment. If Oscar knows that he's going to get second-tier
which he
treatment...
will. I don't think he's ever going to supersede Lando.
He's got to go then. He's got to go.
Correct.
Yeah, which I think is probably the way it's headed. It'll be... And Oscar Piastri will be the number one driver at Red Bull.
Will be.
He will be, absolutely. Isaac Hadjar, I can't see him threatening Oscar in that capacity. That would be a really smart play for them. Now, I wanted to bring a prop. I had a white flag, but I can't find it because they're waving it. Go on, wave it. The white flag has been waved from Formula One, and the FIA has it not. These regulations have not worked. We're 4 races in. We went from trying to sell the dream to everyone, nothing to see here, it's all beautiful, it's going to be okay, to, all right, we'll make some changes to, okay, so for 2027, I think we're going to go back. I think we're going to do something entirely, not entirely different, but we're going to try and wind the clock back. 60-40 maybe is where they're going to land in terms of the engine configuration. It's been a total backflip.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that it's taken this long, or did you think it was going to take a little bit longer? I mean, overwhelmingly, we can see this is not what Formula One is about.
Well, we discussed this at length on our first show straight after the Melbourne Grand Prix.
We discussed it at length for a long time.
And we cannot believe...
Every week we've been discussing it.
I mean, it's been completely delusional. They've let boffins and propeller heads do the regulations. It caught them out. They've let the car manufacturers have too much say. And in reality, even the boss of Formula One now has had to put that white flag up and say, OK, we do need to give this a tweak. Now, they said it's not evolution, it's not revolution, it's evolution. However, these changes are coming. V8's now touted as the new engine replacement. Lots of cool things coming, but they do need to fix it. And I think really the discipline around it, although it's been political, for them to come out and be big enough to go, OK, we do need to tweak this. Correct. I think is really sophisticated.
I didn't think that they'd back down. I thought, they'd be that arrogant and stick to their guns and make it work. So for them to come out this early, make a decision, say, hey guys, wasn't working, we're listening, we're going to make that better. Full credit to them because the FIA don't have a habit of doing that much, do they?
It's been an expensive mistake,
Well,
hasn't it?
Money's one thing they've got.
Well, but also this is the thing where about what the correction is. Listening to the race podcast this week, and they're talking about particularly that it's not just we're going to get down to some chassis changes potentially, right? Because of need of size of battery, need of size of the fuel
tank,
cell,
whatever.
So. On top of everything else, do you think that they're going to have to come up with some sort of a, frankly, compensation strategy to the teams? Because there are these caps on what they can do. If they have to do that much this quickly, who's going to pay for it, Mark?
Well, that will be an issue. I mean, the manufacturers obviously have been so supportive of the current regulations that they're going to own the bill. There is no doubt about that. The teams off the back of that and their manufacturer relationships, that will be where the discussions come in, Paul. That'll be hard work there. Because as soon as you've got to change manifestly the architecture of how much the engine produces as a consequence of the 60-40, if it becomes 60-40, you need to be able to have enough fuel on board. You need to be then changing what the dynamic of the whole thing is with the electrification. So, there's a lot of money to spend, but again, the sophistication around it is, it's the number one category in the world in motorsport. We know that they've got lots of money in the background, and if it requires that to make it better, then well done.
But how do you manufacture time? I mean, at the end of the day, this all takes time, personnel. They have strict guidelines around who can do what, when and how. So during the summer break, there is a period where they are not allowed to go to the workshop.
Hands off,
They have to be shut down. Everyone has to have a break. How do you actually turn that around for next year? You might be able to afford it, but how do you actually manufacture the time to do it? I mean, does this sort of signal how this is going to play out for the rest of the year in the championship, in that Mercedes have obviously, they're the front runners and they've got the advantage. Does everyone else just abandon ship that hasn't been able to find a way, like the Aston Martins of the world, where they go, we're not even going to worry about the rest of this year, we'll turn up, we'll race, but we are focused on what this is going to look like next year, and actually signalling these are going to be the regulations for 2027. So at this point, it's just pie in the sky, and we're speculating what it might look like. They actually are going to have to ratify it.
That's right.
Tell everyone.
So I think the biggest thing is...
They've really stitched themselves into a corner here with all of this.
They have. There's no doubt about that. And I think it probably correlates with last year's championship, for instance. So when Lando and Oscar are battling each other, they put all their effort into the 2025 package and haven't come out at the start of 2026 with a good enough car. That's exactly what you're talking about. It's a very similar scenario. So if you're not in contention right now, don't worry about this year's car now. Just get everyone in the drawing department, everyone in the engine department, everyone working together on whatever that looks like for 2027
Forget
and
Aston
beyond.
Martin, Ferrari will be in that boat. I think they'll all already be looking for next year. I mean, Mercedes are that far ahead that it's only a few teams in it, so it could be the whole field looking forward.
But for the sake of the argument, right, wouldn't Mercedes be blowing up about this? Wouldn't the teams that have had, I mean, obviously it's Mercedes and then McLaren with some update, right? Wouldn't they be blowing up that they had spent, I mean, they didn't obviously start this process yesterday. It was a 5-year lead up to this process. So, I think, as always, politics, how one navigates it.
How could you be blowing up when you're that far in front and you're about to clean up the World Championship?
Watch them. Watch them.
You reckon Toto will find a way?
Just a little. Just a little.
Go on, just one more.
I'm so angry about these new regulations. Call me, Jessica. Return my calls.
And on that note,
It's just completely become Arnie now.
I love it. It's great. We're here for it. Time for a quick break here on Motor Racing 360. When we come back, MotoGP expert Chris Vermeulen joins us to unpack and dissect everything that went down at the French Grand Prix at Le Mans. Stay with us. I love it.
Lights out, we're racing here in the sprint in Le Mans. Big wheelie off the line for the number 49 bike of Fabio Di Giannantonio. And Jorge Martin has come from 8 to lead. Jorge Martin with an absolute show-stopping start to this sprint. Martin from 8th to 1st. That was an extraordinary first 3 corners. The sprint here is going to finish in phenomenal fashion for Jorge Martin as he takes the checkered flag first. What a ride. Lights out and we're racing here in Le Mans. Jorge Martin's coming through. He goes in between Di Giannantonio and Maguire. Oh, Maguire's gone down. And Jorge Martin still win this Grand Prix from here. He comes from a long, long way back, and Jorge Martin on the inside of Bezzecchi. Jorge Martin wins the French Grand Prix here in Le Mans. He completes a dream double. Winner of the sprint, winner of the Grand Prix. What a victory. Aprilia, for the first time in their history, have a 1-2-3.
Welcome back to Motor Racing 360, our quality performance of the week brought to you by CRC 556. Of course, belongs to Jorge Martin, who clean swept proceedings at the French Grand Prix in Le Mans, returning to the top step of the podium for the first time in 2 years. Let's bring in MotoGP expert now to dissect everything that went down in France. Hey, Chris, great to see you. What an extraordinary performance from Jorge Martin. Honestly, when you think about a year ago, he was trying to get out of his contract with Aprilia. Now he's winning for them in the fashion that he did. It's a pretty cool story.
It's an unbelievable story, Jess, and you're right. It was 12 months ago he came back from he had some massive injuries at the start of last year. He broke his scaphoid and his radius bone in his wrist, first of all. Then he came back to race, got run over, broke 11 ribs, had a collapsed lung, was getting fed in the hospital, come back at Le Mans and was already trying to get out of his 2-year Aprilia contract. And then, we're 12 months on and look at the guy. He's so dominant. So, yeah, impressive to see. But we got to remember, this guy is a world champion. 2024, Jorge Martin was the guy that wrapped up that world championship. And, he looks confident. He looks like the old Martin. And I think if he can get his qualifying under wraps, because he was starting from the 3rd row of the grid, so he's giving himself a lot of work to do. But his race pace is there on that bike now. If he can get himself on the front row of the grid, he is going to be very hard to stop in this world championship.
Chris, it's a hell of a battle at the top of the table with only 1 point between the two and their teammates. How does that shape out, mate? And what's going on in that garage?
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? And the boss of Aprilia got asked that very question, how do you manage this? You've never had this situation where you've got two guys fighting for the world championship. So he said, both riders are very clever, and as long as they keep respecting each other, it should go down very well. But that gets different when there's a world championship on the line. So Marco Bezzecchi has been brilliant on that Aprilia. We spoke about him a couple of weeks ago. He led all those laps. He hadn't been touched on a Sunday race day. But now to be caught and passed by your teammate, you're only as good as your last race, as they say. So it's, that's got to hurt a little bit, I reckon.
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned about Martin and where he was 12 months ago versus where he is now. So let's look forward to the future. Do you think he's happy where he is, winning changes everything, or still got his head on a swivel and looking somewhere else up and down the paddock?
Well, what they're saying in the paddock is that the deal is done. He is moving to Yamaha for 2027, which, if you look at it right now, that's a brave move, because the Yamaha is probably the worst motorbike. So he's probably going potentially from the best bike on the grid to the worst one. That's a financial reason. He's going to get paid a lot of money to go to Yamaha, but also the rules are changing next year. So, like I say, it's all a rumour at the moment. There's apparently lots of deals that have been signed, but the manufacturers, the teams, and Liberty haven't come to an agreement yet for their new contracts. So they're holding off the announcement on their rider situation. But yeah, Jorge Martin, if you look at it right now, he's made a bad decision, because look where he is with Aprilia. You'd want to stay there, I reckon.
Yeah, I would have thought so. It'll be interesting to see, I guess, the impacts that those decisions have on his performance through the back end of the year. But so far, so good for him. I mean, he has been a sprint race specialist, and we saw that on the weekend in Le Mans, coming through the field in the way that he did.
Oh, that start was sensational, Jess. Like I said, he's from the third row of the grid, and the guy, his start was very good. He got a rocket ship. These MotoGP bikes with their lowering devices and everything, they go from 0 to 300 Ks in about 7.5 seconds now. So they accelerate almost like rocket ships. And he is just weaving through the field it's like a video game. Like he's passing Marc Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia, multiple world champions, and then rides around the outside of his teammate to go on and win again. And like you said, he is a sprint race specialist. The guy is very, very quick on a soft tyre. So, yeah, that's the old Martin. That's the Martin we like to see on the track.
Hey, Marc Marquez, Chris, that was a monstrous high side. I couldn't believe the violence when he fired over, and then obviously some injuries. Can you give us a bit of an update as to what's happened there with him?
Yeah, definitely. So this was on Saturday in the sprint race, and he's just lost the front. He's a little bit wide on the curb there. The front tucks, and normally Mark could be able to save something like this, but it just threw him over in a cartwheel. His foot hits the ground really early here, and he breaks the 5th metatarsal in his foot. So he realises from that crash that he's going to go and get that fixed. Now, what we didn't know is that he's been having issues with some loose screws in his shoulder. I reckon some loose screws in his head maybe, but yeah, some loose screws in his shoulder, and one's been coming out and rubbing on a nerve. So at the same time, so on Sunday, he basically had 2 surgeries, one on his foot, one on his shoulder to get that screw removed. And he's going to miss this weekend in Barcelona. We've got another Grand Prix this weekend, but unfortunately, and we hope he's going to be back for Mugello, but that all depends on recovery, obviously.
They're heroes, aren't
They are incredible.
I'm not trying to retire anyone, but oh my God. Like for this guy, you think about what his body has been through. Yeah. He has had some horrific injuries. Trying to come back from all of those and then be at his best. I mean, he's an incredible athlete. We see that week in, week out. Surely this has got to be on his mind after this moment where things are starting to loosen up in his body. Where are we at for Marc Marquez? Do you think retirement, just given, you know, the physical ailments that he has at this point, is on his mind at all?
Oh, it's got to be, Jess. And I think he said that early in the season. People were asking him, have you signed for Ducati? Are you continuing on? And he said, look, if I could sign right now to be fit for the rest of my career, I'd put pen to paper right away. So it's in the back of his mind. And some of those surgeries he's had where he's had plates put in his arm, then taken out, then having the arm re-broken and adjusted. His shoulder surgery, for example, he was laying on the hospital bed, and when they knocked him out, his shoulder fell out of place. So his muscles are tensed up to hold the thing in place. So there's been some big injuries there. He is getting older. He's already achieved so much in the sport. So yeah, it's got to be going through his mind. Let's see what happens.
What's it like when you guys get together for a drink in the off season? Because how much
can hold it.
Like I groan getting in and out of the chair, and that because I'm a fat bugger. Like actually, people that have gone through this ring are fair income.
Hard to get through the metal detector at the airport.
Correct. I mean, what you guys must, or do you just not whinge about it? No one admits what happened.
We can't get around to see each other because we're that injured. We're all in the same situation. I remember seeing Mick Doohan when he retired, and you're thinking, oh, the poor bloke can hardly walk, you know, but I'm only in my mid-40s now, and I'm getting the same. So, yeah, motorbikes are great fun, but when you're not on them, when you fall off them, that's when they hurt.
What are you looking forward to this weekend when they go around, Chris?
Well, it's a tricky one. Barcelona is really, really slippery. I think in qualifying, we're going to see a really close field and you won't see much in it, but the race spreads out a lot. Tyre degradation is massive there. Alex Marquez was the guy last year. So he won last time out in Jerez. He crashed in Le Mans, but last year in Barcelona, he was really strong, passed his brother Marc Marquez and rode away. So yeah, look out for Alex Marquez on that Gresini Ducati, I reckon. The KTMs were pretty quick there last year as well, but we've seen that the Aprilias have taken a big step this year. So Jorge Martin would love to win another Grand Prix and at home. So yeah, plenty of fast Spaniards, I think, on a slippery track. It's going to be exciting.
And it will be action-packed, but they will be jammed there in Barcelona. The crowds there are just incredible. So it's one worth watching. Chris Vermeulen, as always, we love your work. Thanks for being on the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
And as we head to a quick break here on Motor Racing 360, don't forget Fox Sports is the home of MotoGP, and we will have you covered this weekend for the Catalunya Grand Prix. Our live coverage kicking off on Friday on Channel 506. Welcome back to Motor Racing 360, brought to you by Repco. A couple of weeks ago on the show, we revealed a very close connection between two unlikely Australian sports identities. Broncos coach Michael Maguire and Supercars driver Broc Feeney, they've become great mates and important mentors for each other. We've seen Broc at Broncos training on game day in the coaching box, but he's also had Madge in a car behind the wheel.
Just being able to be around the car racing, something I've always loved, and watching people like Peter Broc and Dick Johnson, those guys as a young bloke growing up, it was something there that I always would have loved to have done. And then I was fortunate through yourself to meet Broc down at the Gold Coast. It was one of the most amazing experiences I had. I think we were going at 130, 140, and we're going around a corner together, and I literally looked over and Ben Hunt was basically sitting on Broc's lap. They were that close. To see the precision of what they have is quite amazing.
Being a big Bronx boy and to be honest, following a lot since Madge joined the team. Obviously, you hear all the stories and how hard he, pushed everyone, and I was a huge fan of his, and obviously went through some battles at the back end of, the last season and the off season, and, just to have the open contact and being able to call up and just have some good discussions has, been way more than I could have ever dreamed of. I mean, if you told me, before I met him at the Gold Coast that we'd be here, we'd be catching up, I'd be coming and sitting in on team meetings, probably would have told you were dreaming. Yeah,
watching at the back end of his last season, obviously he went through a bit there, and I remember having a bit of a conversation with him, and he just said, I'll learn from that and I'll take that into what I'm going to do next, and look where he's sitting at the moment. What he's been through, albeit hurts at the time, he'll call back on that, and that resilience that he's learnt and gone through will definitely help him. I said a couple of pretty decent names, and Peter Broc and Dick Johnson, those guys, they're heroes of the sporting, the car racing industry, and there's no reasons why at 23 Broc can't have that in his sights. But you learn that through the things that you've gone through.
Hurry up, lads! Come on, come on.
I love this story. I think the crossover between these two codes is incredible, and to have someone of Mike Maguire's stature and the experience and the success that he's had in his chosen field, and Broc being able to learn from that and soak in as much knowledge and advice and be part of that winning culture that Madge has been able to breed with all the footy teams that he's had something to do with, I think is only going to serve him really well. I think it's so great to see that happen.
I'm going to give him a bit of a serve because he's renowned as one of the toughest blokes that played rugby league and coaches. Wasn't he carrying on like a sissy? That isn't a real V8 supercar. That thing's a road car.
No, I was going to compliment him where if you're lucky enough to sit in that passenger seat with somebody who knows what they're doing, you just can't help but laugh. Like there's this incredible joy. And I mean, again, Scafey, you would have taken, literally, we've seen you drive prime ministers around Bathurst all the way through to, legends of lots of times. Most people sit and laugh, they scream, they swear.
They're
what do most
for the
people
brake
like?
pedal. That's what they're doing in the passenger seat.
The braking's the weird thing because they're just not in control, and they're definitely using the fake brake pedal. But it's one of those things, Paul, and I think we spoke about it last week, that there's so many correlations between professional sports people and so many of the things that make them tick. And what a great way for Broc to be able to rebound from a very tough season at the end of last year and use someone like Michael Maguire to bounce off. That's an excellent rapport they've got.
I'll just tell you why motorsport's so great. I was there on that day. We had Michael Maguire and also the Rock Band Parkway Drive. They all got out of the cars and said, it's the greatest thing we've ever done in our life. We're talking about a rock and roll band, heavy metal band, and a bloke that just won the premiership. It's the best, man.
Oh, I hope we're going to see a bit more of Madge at the racetrack. Of course, we're going to Tasmania next. Maybe he'll turn up there.
They've got the buy.
Oh,
so
okay.
Could be on the cards. I'll be doing my best to get him down there.
Yeah, okay.
Let's
awesome.
see what happens.
Hope so. All right, coming up next here on Motor Racing 360, well, it got a little heated in the pit lane at IndyCar, which got us thinking about some of the great confrontations that we've seen in motorsport. Up next, our top picks right after the break.
He fancied a bit of a fist fight, actually. A bit of UFC, a bit of MMA. Something I'm not accustomed to. But hey, you know what? I've got like a 350-pound fueler who was like right behind me. So fair play to Roman. He's got some balls for trying to attack me with him behind me. Imagine a brawl on pit lane. How would we stack up? I think we'd stack up pretty well.
You can catch Motor Racing 360 every Wednesday night on Channel 5 or 6. We'll bring you all the very best moments from around the globe, like that one. one.
Yeah, I'll give you the tip. I think the fueler wins in the fight. That bloke goes running.
He's a monster, isn't he?
Yeah.
That was handbags at 10 paces compared to some of your efforts, right?
Oh, we're going to get to that. Just slow down because, of course, every week we bring you what gets you going thanks to Repco.
How good's Repco?
And it was this weekend, absolutely. Got me thinking about some of the great confrontations that we've seen in motor racing. NASCAR, they don't mind a bit of a push and shove. This was a pretty good one. This was back in 2014 in Texas. They all got involved.
It was pretty serious, and that was Jeff Gordon, so the very best operators that day. Kozlowski was involved in the middle of it, Tony Stewart, Joey Logano, they're all throwing punches, there's team blokes involved in it everywhere. That's a good scrummage, that one. That's very good work.
And then this one in 2013 between Stewart and Logano.
Yeah.
They do like a scrap, don't they, in NASCAR?
But how good is just one in, all in? That's the rules of it, right? You don't just stand back, get involved, back in your mate.
It's a team sport. All right, F1, they're a little bit more refined, except for this one, Hockenheim, in 1982.
You watch
if you're going to have a fight, you're going to have your helmet on, right?
It's a smart way to do it.
They end up walking off together, which is a bit weird. So Nelson Piquet is pretty fiery.
Even through the
Piquet
kick
Van Dam with the kick.
But you know what? Supercars wrote the handbook on how to have biff, right? I love this one. We've got to just get this out as often as we can. Ambrose and Murph, 2005.
Yep.
The Mountain. I love that they kissed and made up about this last year on the Mountain.
Very clever.
Lee Diffie actually said in the commentary, these guys do not like each other.
Hey, is there a person in the paddock that hasn't had a spray like that from Murph?
Can anyone lip read? What was Murph saying there?
Yeah.
I'll catch you for a drink and we'll sort it out
I think
there.
it's got a few
Discuss the matter.
expletives. Yeah.
But if we're going to go here, we've really got to have Scafey's highlight reel.
Yes.
I reckon he was trying to get in a fight every single week at the track. And I just love that he wanted to go toe-to-toe with the great Alan Jones. This is actually in Simmons Plains, isn't it? What was he saying to you, Mark?
Well, he turned me around, Jess. I wasn't very happy. And it's Barry Benson in the background there. He was running the team for Glen Seaton. It was Glen Seaton's team. And Barry knew it was pretty serious. I'm glad I'm talking over what I said because it's just basically stopping the expletives coming out. No, I wasn't very happy about it.
Young Scafey back in 1993. I loved it. Very good.
Giving it to a world champ and winning.
Yeah, always. Every day of the week, he is a winner.
Correct.
But it's this one. I mean, any excuse to run this one. This is the great confrontation in motor racing, bar none, right? Scaife and Ingalls, Sydney Motorsport Park, 2003. Still not over it.
No, I'm not over it, no. My counsellor thinks I am.
Look at that.
It's not good.
And then what happened after this when you got back to the garage?
Well, then I was looking for a fight. And it was pretty wild.
He locked himself away, didn't he? He was terrified.
Well, it was more of going into the team. Lucky I had Craig Kelly there with me at the time too, because I was probably reasonably confident that we'd go all right. But anyway, can we move on?
But the biggest fight in the history of the sport was handed down that day. Where were you when that judicial hearing was happening?
Yeah, well, it was pretty wild because we were there late that night and the stewards weren't very happy because I actually got fined too for going against the flag marshal. When I chucked the helmet to him, he obviously told me not to go out onto the track. And then when Russell swerved at me, then that was another story, right? So he got the fine for the incident and for the swerve. I got the fine for disobeying the officials.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah.
And when he swerved,
I can't believe
a little bit of wee in the pants, or?
Wasn't great. Wasn't great.
Memory lane, love it. That's good. Well, believe it or not, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week for more Motor Racing 360.